तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्।
online talk. You, everyone, please enjoy the PowerPoint presentation. Good afternoon, everyone. A very warm welcome to you all. I would like to inform you all that PG Department of Computer Science and IT under Star College scheme of DBT is organizing. Uh, Good afternoon, everyone. A very warm welcome to you all. I would like to inform you all that PG Department of Computer Science and IT under Star College scheme of DBT is organizing an online interactive talk on metadata management. It gives me immense pleasure to inform you all that our resource person, Mr. Anand Ramamurthy, Director and Head of Data Governance and Data Security at Informatica, Australia. Mr. Anand, who hails from South India and now a citizen of Australia, is an immensely talented and well versed in data management. It's indeed our honor to have such an experienced resource person among us. We welcome you all, sir. Keeping our DAV values and traditions, before we formally start the event, DAV Gan will be played. We will be now enchanting the DAV Gan.
अविरल निर्मल सलिल सदय ज्ञान प्रदायिनी ज्योतिर्मय हो चहु दिशि उद्घोष अभय दिए विजय जय दिए विजय जय प्रबल प्रवाहमयी नित नूतन जीवन दायिनी सदा सनातन वेद प्रणीता परम पुनीता ये धारा अक्षय दिए विजय जय दिए विजय जय दयानंद से प्रेम भक्ति ले हंसराज से त्याग शक्ति ले धर्म भक्ति का राष्ट्र शक्ति का हो दिन मान उदय दिए विजय जय दिए विजय जय सुख समृद्धि इसकी लहरें प्रेम शांति इसके तट ठहरे सघन शांतिमय प्रबल क्रांतिमय लिए अटल निश्चय दिए विजय जय दिए विजय जय
Now I request our head of department, who is fountainhead of Illuminating Ideas, Professor Vikram Sharma, to please brief us about today's interactive talk. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Worthy Principal Dr. Jesh Kumar ji, Mr. Anand Ramamurthy ji, the resource person of this online talk, staff members, and my dear students. A very good afternoon to all of you. In today's business and technology world, data is very crucial. This need to store and manage large and complex data that comes from different sources like social media, online networks, web pages, blogs, etc. Various IT tools and techniques are available for storing, managing, and accessing the data efficiently. To aware more about this demanding IT technology, PG Department of Computer Science is organizing an interactive talk on metadata management. The resource person of this talk is Mr. Anand Ramamurthy, who is the director and head of data governance and data security business for Informatica company in Asia Pacific Japan region, based out of Melbourne, Australia. On behalf of all the staff members, I extend a warm and hearty welcome to you, sir, and we are thankful to you for sparing a valuable time for our students in India. Mr. Anand has completed his BTech in electronic engineering from Trivandrum Engineering College. He has over 20 years of experience in data management and data governance with a broad exposure working for multinational companies, consultancies, and software vendors in multiple geographies and industries. He has worked in renowned companies like GE Consumer and Industries as a project leader, ANZ Bank as consultant, Octane Service Company as information management consultant before joining the Informatica company, where he is currently working as a APJ segment leader and head of data governance. He has extensive knowledge of data integration, data extraction, data modeling, cloud computing, data warehousing, and various business intelligence tools. We are indeed very lucky to have you here among us, sir. And I am sure that this interactive talk on metadata management will be very useful for our students. At the end, I extend my gratitude to our worthy principal, sir, who always encourage and motivate us to organize such type of online events. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I request the man of distinct vision, an idol of knowledge, experience, and inspiration to all of us, our worthy principal, sir, Dr. Rajesh Kumar, to please bless the students.
Thank you, Preeti. Respected Nand Ramamurthy ji, a guest speaker who is joining us from Australia, Dr. Vikram Sharma, Head Postgraduate Department of Computer Science and IT, faculty members, and very dear participants. A very good morning to all of you, and welcome to this interactive talk by Shri Anand Ramamurthy, who will be talking on metadata management. Friends, first of all, I would extend my gratitude and express my thanks to the resource person who has joined us from Australia, and very experienced person, as Dr. Vikram has told right now. He's director and head of data governance and data security Informatica Australia. Mr. Ramamurthy, DAV College, Amritsar is one of the lead college of North India, and the college has established benchmarks in education, sports, and co-curricular activities. The college is always pioneer in trend setting, may it be the computer literacy, may it be the online learning, or any other trend that in education we find. The DAV College Amritsar is always front runner, and the college, established in the year 1955, is running more than 10 postgraduate and 15 undergraduate courses in the faculties of science, arts, commerce, and computer science. As far as this present workshop or this talk on metadata management is concerned, it's well-known fact that we are living in a digital era. where most of the things they have gone online, and data management, data is increasing day by day. And I equate this data to warehouse, that how to store this data. The way we store goods in the warehouse, in the same way this data has to be stored. And in the present COVID conditions, when everything has gone digital, when even the education has gone online, the problem of data storage and data management, that's really a big challenge. And our computer professionals, our IT professionals in the institutions, uh, members from the Department of Computer Science and IT who are holding various webinars, who are holding various activities, taking online classes, and they're recording each and every proceeding that is taking place. So this topic assumes more significance in the present scenario, the present conditions, because how to store this data. And this is a very emerging field. I must express my thanks to you that you have accepted our invitation to deliver a talk for the benefit of our teachers as well as our students. Because our teachers, they will learn this important aspects of data management and how to manage the big data. Though at the institutional level, we are not dealing with that big data, but still, as teachers of computer science, they have in their syllabi some topics which deal with the data management. So I must express my thanks to you for having acceded to our request and for agreeing to deliver a talk for our teachers and students. At the same time, I'm very thankful to the Department of Computer Science, Dr. Vikram Sharma, who has organized this event, and all the members of computer science departments who are taking part in this interactive talk. And students also, I'm sure everybody will be extremely benefited. I once again extend you a very warm welcome to the DAV College, though of course online, but will be certainly benefited from your talk. The students, they can clarify their doubts. Even the teachers, I will call upon all the faculty members that they should clear each and every doubt of theirs that they have got the resource person of a very high caliber and of experience. With these words, I convey my best wishes to all of you. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir, for your motivation. Before I hand over to our resource person, I would like to inform everyone that this session is live on YouTube as well. I would also like to inform all the students that e-certificates will be provided only after they fill the feedback form. The link of the feedback form will be shared later on in the chat box. Now, I humbly invite our resource person, Dr. Anand, to please start with his talk. Over to you, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity. In fact, Rajesh ji, Vikram ji, and Preeti ji, thanks for this opportunity and thanks for a warm welcome and introduction. I understand it's in the middle of the day. Hopefully you don't sleep at the end of my session. I'll try to make it as interactive as we can, right? As Rajesh ji mentioned, this COVID-19 has obviously exposed or rather increased the need for how data is managed. And today's topic, which is about metadata management, is just very, very well tied to what data is all about, right? And it is critical at this stage. We need to talk about this. So with that, I will start sharing my screen. And Vikramji, do you want to run a poll right now? I just wanted to get a feel for how many of you understand what this topic is about, just for me to gauge where things are. I don't want to sound like someone teaching the kids, right?
No, you
It's
can
about a
ask
conversation.
students can respond to you through the chat box, sir.
Okay, that's fine. So one of the key things, I mean, metadata management, how many of you understand or have heard about it or know a bit about it from your past research or whatever studies you've had? Just a show of hand chat. I need to open the chat box, I guess. So just give it probably 30 seconds to a minute for everyone to. Oops.
Sir, you can continue, sir.
Okay. Let me stop sharing for a second.
Sir, they will respond to you through chat box later on, sir.
Okay. Hang on. Let me just. Am I sharing? Am I sharing the screen by any chance?
No, sir.
Not yet. Okay. Just want to make sure that I'm sharing it with the computer sound. Okay, so let's kick it off. I've put together a bunch of slides based on what I've researched on the internet. You might find this useful as well. I mean, you can get it from, these are all publicly available information that I've put in out here. Some of these I do, it's my daily life, and which is something that I see in the corporate world quite regularly, and as well as the public sector for that matter, right? And it is a very topical subject, primarily because, so let's understand what is metadata. Before we understand metadata management, what do you mean by metadata? How many of you are Game of Thrones fans, right? I mean, you would have seen Ned Stark from Game of Thrones, right? Everyone keeps using the word metadata. You will get to hear on television, a lot of politicians talk about metadata. But what does it really mean? Do they understand what metadata means? And funny enough, if I speak to a lot of experienced folks, those who are not really close to metadata, I mean, close to data, they won't even know what metadata is sometimes, right? I'm not generalizing it. There are quite a few people who don't understand what it is. So you don't feel bad if you say that, I mean, I don't know about it. When you get closer to it, you realize what it is. And you might be using it. And we have it all around us. And it's just that we don't call it metadata many times, right? That's what it is about. And someone might say it's a word with 8 letters in it, right? That could probably be it. And this is something that we commonly hear when someone makes a phone call, right? And some of them might say metadata is meaningless and you don't have to worry about it, which is what this code says. But there are many times when phone records are tapped, and especially many governments in different countries, they request for metadata from the telecommunication companies, especially to track the call data records and understand what kind of conversations have happened at what time. Not the actual conversation itself, but the characteristics of that, right? When was a call made, how long, and so on. And many of you might be familiar with some of these, right? This is a Wikipedia example. I love to use Wikipedia definitions, even though, I mean, these are definitions that are put together by people like us, right? What it says is it's about a descriptive structure. There are different types of it, but it's about the data that provides information about other data. So in this case, what you're seeing is it's more like a library with the tags associated to it, right? You have either the alphabetical order, it's defined, and then you will have a card specifically explaining the title. There will be some information about it, who's the author, and some brief description. And then it will provide you which aisle it is in, based on which you can pick up the book, which is something that is common. DAV College will have a library, and you might have experienced this, right? And the other example that I would take is something that we all love: music, video, clips, and whatnot, and we deal with a lot of different applications. So one of the things that we see is here, I mean, there are video tracks, or it could even be iTunes for that matter. When I click on a particular file, I see a bunch of information associated with it, like the name of the file or the video track, who's the artist. So as you can see, the release date. And these are some of the things that gives us an idea as to do I really want to look at this? Can I make some sense out of it? Is it really of interest to me? And so on. Another example that I picked up is Netflix. How many of you are familiar with Netflix, or many of you might be using this, right? Netflix could be one, Amazon Prime, I'll come to that as well. Some of these are my subscription that I've pulled out of, right? So in this case here, you can see how many people have approved it. I mean, they like it, how many people dislike it. There is about how much percentage of match based on the search that I have, what's the duration, a lot of information that is provided, and the rating, right? 91%, and the critic score. There are different types of critics that are out there. You will know about the Rotten Tomatoes. I mean, when you look for a movie, when it's coming out, you will see a bunch of these kind of critics also providing their view online. And that is something that we look at it before we go in and watch a movie at a theater, right? And there is much more to it. I mean, this is just some example. Something that might be closer to you. I mean, I understand from Vikramji that you guys have studied database management systems. This is an Oracle database, and it's a SQL editor where I'm looking at the definition of a table, right? The table has got column, what type of column it is, what is the length, precision, whether it's nullable or not, and so on, right? This is all metadata, right? We are talking about metadata. If you have system tables in Oracle, that is basically nothing but, or SQL Server for that matter, both have similar capabilities. There is metadata that is being held within. And how does this metadata get used? In our daily life, we do a lot of shopping, right? I should have picked up some Indian websites as well, but this is from Amazon, which is globally available. In fact, I've used my own subscription, right? And as a man, I can go in and look for some shorts because I'm getting closer to summer right now. I mean, it's closer to summer here. We've just come out of winter, right? I can start shopping. When I'm looking for that, I can see various things. There is a lot of rating that is given. Some of them have 4 stars, some of them have 4.5. Some have got free delivery, what's the price range. And these are some of the input that I get before I make a decision as to which one should I go for or even drill into, right? That narrows down the parameters. These kind of information gives me, this is again metadata, right? And how is it getting used? I'm looking at a lot of things. I would have searched for some of the apparel. And when a customer was looking for a shirt, the customers also look for shorts, as an example, right? And when they are looking for what do you call? It's a related information, related items that you buy. So when you buy a computer, it'll offer you saying that when someone bought a computer, they also bought the mouse, they also bought the wireless keyboard, and so on, right? And this is all information collected based on others who have purchased these kind of products from their website. So that is all mining the metadata or data that they have and using that to offer you some narrowed responses so that you don't have to keep searching. Sometimes this is also an opportunity for them to sell you more because you're thinking about buying a shirt, but they're also providing you other things that they've bought. Some, even though you're not planning to buy a shorts, you might end up buying one because you find something to be attractive or it is at a good deal and you end up buying. So this is one of the ways you can increase the revenue for an organization. This is just a retail aspect of it, but it could be any industry for that matter. You can provide many information like this, right? Of course, this is again my subscription, right? When I watch a lot of Indian movies along with some Hollywood movies. So when I'm looking at it, it's giving me the top movies because that's based on who has watched it, what's the current trend. Some of them are recommended because I've been watching similar movies. I hope there is nothing which is untoward in this. Hopefully not, right? There are some thriller movies and the Indian movies, Indian TV and movies that are coming up. This is again based on my usage pattern. I've seen a bunch of movies, and it has analyzed what I've watched, and based on that, it is recommending the genre of the movie or the particular language in which I'm watching a bunch of movies. And I speak Malayalam, I speak Tamil, I speak Hindi, so I can watch any of these movies, right? And I can get all those results popping up. So I don't need to keep searching. So if there are some popular movies in that language, it comes up. And these are some of the values of metadata and how metadata gets used to derive value, right? And then finally, Netflix. Everyone is familiar with this. This is an article from one of the alumni. It's again publicly available. And again, how they're utilizing the data and to make the recommendations, just like what I mentioned about Amazon Prime, right? It's the same thing. And they also do a lot of other things. Sometimes I'm not even thinking about a particular movie, but it comes up with a recommended saying that, okay, you've watched something similar to this, so we are recommending this because quite a lot of others have watched it and the rating is this. They'll give you all the information associated with it. It doesn't even come to my email. It comes as an email recommending certain movies as well. I don't even have to log into the Netflix app for that matter. They're one of the better companies who use metadata to perfection. And there are many other companies who do that. And more and more companies are using metadata to drive value and provide better value to their customers or their employees or to their suppliers, whatever the touch points they have. Now, at this juncture, I mean, we covered what are possible metadata examples. We looked at how metadata could be used. I just want to get just to have an interaction with you, so it's not just my voice coming out. These are some of the things that I've put in there. There are 4 types of data or metadata. I want you through the chat, if you could tell me, number 1 is data or metadata, number 2 is data or metadata, 3 and 4. If you could do that within the next minute, that'll be helpful. Just for me to gauge you've understood those examples and what each means. I try to be as relatable to your current situation as possible, right? So if you could go through the chat and if you could respond, that would be lovely. Anyone? We should probably, if it was a face-to-face, I could have thrown some goodies across to someone who's trying out the response for the first. Who is the first respondent? I can only give you a virtual clap. Oops.
Nana ma'am, can you unmute the Lakshya?
Sorry, come again.
Nana ma'am, can you unmute the student Lakshya?
Yeah, sir. Yeah, I can. Just give me 1 second.
He has sent some message in the chat box.
Yeah. Lakshay, kindly unmute yourself. Yeah, he's
Yes.
unmute now, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Lakshay, ask your question.
Ma'am, I am very thankful for the computer department for giving me the opportunity to ask a single question. Sir, I have a question. What are the worries related to the metadata management?
Well, first of all, you have to in the chat box you have responded to this particular question asked by our resource person. Is this metadata, or is this a metadata or a data?
Achha,
Title of the book. First of all, respond to this particular thing.
Sir, in this question, the fourth point, the contents of book is a metadata. Else other is a data.
Right. Okay. Anyone else?
Nana ma'am, please mute,
Yes, sir.
unmute Rajveer. Just see
Okay,
the chat
sir.
box.
Okay, sir. Rajveer, unmute yourself, please.
Yes, ma'am. Sir, according to me, I think second one is data, others are all metadata.
Okay. You're close enough. You're almost close.
We are also getting responses from other students also, sir. Just see the chat.
I think Abhijit has responded 2 and 4 about data, and then 1 and 3 are metadata. So 1 data, 2 data, 3 data, and 4 metadata. someone has responded. Okay, I mean, I see some responses. Lakshay, I should probably give you a virtual clap. Where has it gone, for at least opening up and starting to comment.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so the title of a book is representing a book itself, right? The content, as in what you're reading inside, is the actual data for a book. Whereas the title, which says, okay, description of what that title is before you even start reading it. So I can have the title described anywhere, but you have to buy the book in order for you to get to read the book, right? Does it make sense? Lakshay, since you asked the question, since you're online. Now, the actual video itself is data. So I think Abhijit, or one response I had seen, 2 and 4 are data, are correct. Whereas the other 2 are metadata. It's describing the actual book itself. Okay, describing the actual book or describing the photo. Okay. Right, so let's move on to now let's understand what is metadata management. Now we understood what metadata is, and we know some of the metadata exists in databases. Now, what do you mean by metadata management? Now, Rajesh ji mentioned about the complexities that we have. In fact, Vikram ji mentioned about the complexities that we have. There are so many databases, there are applications. So you can see here the data sources. There is your big data, data lake. You have a lot of files and documents. There are databases that are available. There are some log files, which are Internet of Things. If you might have heard, sensors that are available. There's a lot of data that gets created. And along with that, there is some definition of that data, which is what is metadata. And it is sitting in various different locations. Unless and until I bring it together out and capture it in one central location, it's hard for me to manage it, right? Hence why you have a centralized metadata management system where you catalog all the metadata coming from various different systems. You tie them together so that you can understand where the data is coming, where it's going, who's using it, how is it getting changed, right, which is called transformation of the data, so that when I'm consuming it through a report or through an Excel spreadsheet or through a file, it is for a particular purpose that I'm getting the data out. So now I can understand how is the data coming to this particular report. It is through multiple hops that it goes through. I'll show you some of those examples from a tool perspective later, okay? So here is an example. Rather than me talking about it, I thought this Intricity has put together I think it's a 5-minute video talking about the complexities in a corporate world. They talk about a logistics operator. I mean, you're sending a parcel from one country to the other, and when you're sending it through, you're tracking that parcel, and it might have multiple hops before it is getting to the final destination. So let's say, for example, sitting in India, you might be buying something from the US. When you buy something from the US, you're given a tracking number as to this parcel has left the supplier. It has taken off from the distribution center, and the parcel service has picked it up, and it's going through multiple hops because it might not be one direct access, so it might go to another godown before, to a warehouse before it comes to the local warehouse, and then finally someone is picking it up from there and delivering it to your doorstep, right? Think of data as that parcel, and it has to move through various steps. Now, without looking at the data, I can understand what's happening to that data at various stages, which is what the tracking option is. So let's listen to this gentleman who's describing it in detail. Let me know if you're able to hear this, okay? Let me just pull this up.
My name is Abdul. I want to become a doctor, but I've always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I decided to learn.
Hi, I'm Jared Hillam. If you've ever received...
Is it audible?
Yes, sir, it is audible, sir.
And can you see this YouTube screen?
No, sir.
you're not. So I need to share my screen. Sorry. Can you see it now?
Not, sir. The voice was audible, but the screen is not visible. Any problem, sir?
Sorry?
Any problem, sir? Your screen is not visible.
Sorry, you're not able to
start
see.
screen share again. So you start
Sorry?
screen share again. So you please start your share screen again.
Oh,
Then we will
okay.
be able to see your YouTube. Yeah, you start.
I haven't.
We are
Sorry,
just
I haven't shared it.
we are just watching your face, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. That's a bit weird. Thought I clicked on the share.
Then enable sound.
Hang on.
On the bottom right, there is a one.
No. I've already done that.
Okay, okay.
Just bear with me. Just make sure. Where's my? Okay.
Yes. Now it is started, sir.
Hi, I'm Jared Hillam.
Can you hear me?
If you've ever
Can you hear
received
us?
a package in the
Yes,
mail,
sir. Yes, sir.
you're probably familiar with shipment tracking. We track our shipments because we want to know where our stuff is and where it came from. That way, if something goes wrong, like say a package comes tangled with some bagpipes, you can trace it back to the possible source of the problem. Well, the same is true for data. Every day, organizations move millions of records into different systems, data warehouses, reporting systems, staging areas, etc. And organizations need to know where that data is going. For example, let's imagine that you're looking at a report and the graph is showing a new division that you know doesn't exist. So you ask yourself, well, where did this data come from? For many organizations, this question can be a mess to answer. This is because the data movement process can be a black box to the business analysts. So this can kick off an expensive analysis effort to document all the hops that the data went through to land in that report. Now, if this need only happens, say, once a year, maybe organizations can live with that analysis effort. But in a data-rich environment with lots of data consumers, these questions are going to be asked regularly. And it's not just the business users that will be asking these questions, but IT teams as well. This is because IT teams need to understand the impact of the changes they make to the source systems on the downstream reports. A change to a single table can impact hundreds of reports that eventually use that table's data. And this is where I introduce you to something called a metadata management tool. All right, pause for a second. Notice that I said metadata management and not master data management. The difference is important. Okay, let's keep going. It just so turns out that within all these hops, each one of these systems keeps a log of that data that's being handled. And these logs are what we call metadata, or information about the data. By tying together the different metadata sources, you can begin to get a picture of where the data is moving and how it's changing. Now, if you had to tie this all together by hand, you'd have a massive hairball of complexity to piece together. But luckily, a number of the leading vendors in data integration have pre-built some of this for you. They've done this by packaging connectors to the metadata, which is stored in industry-leading ETL tools, BI tools, databases, data modeling tools, and other systems. So as long as you have a fairly industry standard tool in those categories, there's a good chance that you'll be able to draw metadata out of those tools without a massive effort. Now, if you have an obscure ETL tool or BI tool, then you're kind of out of luck. You're left with the options of either hand integrating the metadata into the metadata management tool or just living without visibility into that step. And sometimes you can live without that visibility. However, there is one source of metadata that you can't or shouldn't live without, and that is your ETL tool. For a refresher on what an ETL tool does, check out my ETL video. The entire data movement process is driven by your ETL tool, so you've got to ensure that you have adequate visibility there. The end result of an implemented metadata management tool is a full data tracking map, which gives you insight coming from either angle. You can look at it from a developer's perspective and ask which reports use this table I'm about to edit, or you can look at it from a business user's perspective and ask how the data ended up in my report. We call these impact analysis and data lineage. Now, in addition to impact analysis and data lineage, metadata management tools offer another huge value add, which is called a business glossary. Have you ever been in a report and seen a column like shipment date and wondered what that means? That term could mean obviously a number of different things. Wouldn't it be nice if there was a central location for storing business descriptions for such data? That's exactly what a business glossary is intended to do. The leading metadata management vendors provide this business glossary as an interface to enable business users to create descriptions for the data. These descriptions can be collaborated on and run through an approval process. Additionally, many of the vendors provide the ability to combine terms into calculations which are linked to each other. This is another area where it's important to understand that there is no pixie dust fairy that is going to provide these business descriptions. It requires an engaged data governance organization to ensure that these tasks get taken care of by the business user community. You can get more information about the basics of a data governance team in my data governance video. Intricity has an entire strategic offering around establishing a metadata management practice. This includes engaging the data governance team.
Okay, so let's swap over. Stop share. Go back to our. Okay, so in this video, there were a number of terminology or a number of terms that were used. One was about the data lineage. There was something about the impact analysis. There's about a metadata catalog. There's about a glossary, the business glossary. And these are some of the things that in the world of metadata management, you will get to hear quite often. Now, metadata management, as it was described, I mean, I initially started off saying that you have an Oracle database. There is system tables which hold the metadata. For each table, there is metadata associated with. It sits in the Oracle database. Similarly, you will have a SQL Server database that will have its own metadata. Then you have a file that is sitting in your file system that will have its own metadata associated with, right? The author, when it was edited last and whatnot. But in order for us to have a better view of what kind of data is sitting within, let's say, for example, DAV as a college, and there are various different systems as a student you will be using. So for a college to understand how a student can be provided a better service, they can hook all these different metadata together to understand where the data is coming from, where is it created. It's a student registration system to courses that are being provided. There are various systems that might come together, and then it's finally landing in reports that are produced. Some of the reports are given to students. And how do I know this report data is coming from which system and what has happened to the data? So that is what we had seen in the video. There was what's called an impact analysis. So as someone who is making a change to an Oracle table, if I drop a field, or if I add a table or change the length of a particular column, what would be the impact of that column that is being used downstream? As in, The data gets moved to another database, maybe, or another table. It could be moved to a report, and the report is using it. If you drop that column, what will happen to the report? Now the report will stop working because it's no longer getting that particular field, right? So you got to have an impact analysis before you make a change somewhere. That is one usage of that. So we will cover some of the terminology now. I've used some screenshots from our own. So Informatica is a software vendor, right? We build software, and our software is all around data management, data governance, and metadata management and whatnot. So I live and breathe this particular area every single day. Customers are challenged with this. So it's not just about being students. I mean, when you get into the corporate world, when you start working for a company, whether it is a consulting company, services company like TCS or Infosys or Capgemini, or whether you're working for companies like General Electric that I've worked for before, or it could be Bajaj, or it could be Reliance, or whoever it might be, if you're dealing with data, you will end up seeing this as a problem. Because the first question you will have is, you're giving me this data set or this table, I don't understand what this data means. I don't know who's using it. What is the purpose of this table? What data is it holding? Those questions need to be answered. And the ability for a company to provide that information handy to their employees, handy to their customers, handy to their suppliers is so critical for efficient functioning of their business. Okay, so in this case here, just like you saw in Netflix and Amazon Prime, for the data sets or tables, or so in this case it's more like a big data data set that is sitting there, or it could be a Oracle table for that matter, right? And these are given star ratings. This is based on the users who are using it, and they're providing their feedback, right? And you can also have survey and other ratings that you can provide. You can have reviews, just like what you see in Amazon, eBay, and whatnot, right? And there are other ways you can search for it and get. If it is a certified asset, which means that someone has already looked at it, they know that it's confident that the data is good. It can be used for production purposes, so that can also be highlighted. In addition to that, you can also follow what it is. These are called data catalog. A data catalog is nothing but metadata from various different systems like Oracle database, SQL database, a CRM system, which is customer relationship management system, where when you go into an organization, most of the companies will have a CRM system. I don't know whether you've studied that as a part of the course or not. There will be ERP systems, which are enterprise resource planning. These are some of the applications that customers use regularly, right? And then you will have data warehouses, and you will have big data lakes. You will have reporting tools, how you report it. You will have files for Excel. Through Excel, you might report, or there might be files where data is held. So all that metadata needs to be brought together and managed. That is what is metadata management is about, right? Once I have it in a central location, then it's like a Google-like search. What is Google at the end of the day? Google is nothing but collecting information from various different sources and providing it to in one central location. Then you're searching for it. It is giving you a snippet of what that particular search is. There's a link. There is some initial information that is provided. That's metadata. It's not giving you the actual information within that link yet. Once you click into the link, and if it is a free topic, or if it is a free information, then you'll be able to open it. If it is not, let's say, for example, some scholarly articles that are written, you might not be able to access it just by searching through the Google search. You'll get the link, but when you click into it, it will say that, I mean, you'll have to either pay for it or get access from the owner before you can view it, right? So the actual content within that particular link is the data, which is sensitive, which is something that is valued. So you cannot just openly share it. But the information about that needs to be shared. Unless and until you share that, Others are not going to know that that is existing, which means that no one is going to know, which means that no one is going to use it, which means that you're not getting revenue. So as an author, it's important for my book information to be out in the public. When they know about it, when they see the reviews, when they see the ratings, someone might say that I want to buy this. That's when they buy it, that's when they pay for it, and then they get access to the book, even if it is in digital form, right? So unless until you share it, you will not know the value of it. So sharing of this information through metadata is so critical. In a business world, in a corporate world, especially, it is so important. Right now, everyone holds their own data and no one shares it. Hence the reason why there is a lot of communication issues. There's a lot of duplicate issues. People are creating the same data multiple times because they don't know who else has that information. So these are some of the benefits of using metadata management. So here is what you saw in the saw in the YouTube video, right? Here I have a CRM system. The data is moving into a data lake, and then it's finally produced into a Tableau. Tableau is nothing but a visualization or reporting tool. So you can see lineage and impact analysis. I can drill into it and understand what are the, so I can go at a high level. When I drill into it, I can see more steps involved in it. There might be multiple steps within the data lake itself before the report is accessing a particular data set. So you can drill in or zoom in or zoom out. You can see all that. This is data lineage. So data lineage is someone who is looking at a report and they want to know where the data is coming from. That concept is called data lineage. And if someone is looking at a table which is in CRM and they want to make a change to that, they want to understand, if I make a change, what is the impact of the downstream applications or data lakes? That is your impact analysis. And it is so important with that change. And when you start working for one of the companies, you will realize the importance of that, because every change is costly. Knowing what the change has an impact is so important so that you can manage and plan it out. You can let the right people inform the right people about what changes you're making and what is going to be the impact. So you can use the appropriate time to make the change so that there is minimal impact to the rest of the organization. I've seen in my 25 years of working, there are some small changes that had costed companies millions of dollars, because there are consumers or some other organizations relying on that data. And if you make a change and that impacts the data that you're providing, your organization is providing to the other organization, then they can penalize you, right? There are agreements of that sort. So what you do with data has a big and massive impact to the organization sometimes. So it is so critical for us to understand what changes are you making, how is it impacting, and so on. The other thing that was mentioned in the in that YouTube video was about the business definitions and ability to have not only a technical level data lineage, but also a business level data lineage is also equally important. Some of the people are very business focused, though they're dealing with business concepts, and they might not be touching the IT systems. But for them to know, if you're applying for a loan at a bank, they collect information about your personal details as well as your financial details, and they run it through background check. There are agencies who provide the background check. That background check is as good as the data that is being fed in. So if the company doesn't track who collects, the bank that collects that information from you, if they don't track what information they're collecting from you, and if they don't keep updating those critical components of that, then their background check can go wrong. So some of you might have good credit history. I hope you understand what credit history means, how you're financially doing, and that information that's being fed in, if it is wrong, even though you might have a good history, they might reject your loan. Or the other way around, you might have a really bad history, you haven't repaid money in the past, you have bad history. In spite of that, because of the lack of data that's being fed in, outcome could be that your loan is approved. So both can have an impact to the bank or to the financial institution that is providing you the loan, okay? And then I mentioned about the impact analysis earlier. There are some definitions. I'm happy to share this deck later. So that is pretty much what I wanted to cover today. I mean, I don't want to bore you with too much details. There is also a concept of data governance, which is slightly more, I mean, you need to get to a specific stage. I mean, if you're keen on, I'm happy to chat at a different stage, but that's another topic that relies on. There are many other use cases preparing data. There are many other use cases for metadata management. I think with this, I want to open it up for questions, as well as I want to gauge where you are. I mean, I hope you understand what metadata management is at this stage after going through this.
Thank you, sir. It was indeed very engrossing, functional, and valuable talk. I'm sure the students have thoroughly enjoyed listening to you. Now I request Professor Naina to please unmute the students so that they can ask their queries.
Okay, Preeti ma'am. Firstly, I am going to unmute Lakshay Mehra for asking his question. Lakshay, kindly unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yes, ma'am. Sir, ma'am, I am very thankful for giving me the opportunity to ask a single question. Sir, I have a single question. What are the worries related to the metadata management and how metadata act as directory?
Sorry, what was your first part of the question?
Sir, what are the worries related to the metadata management and how metadata act as directory?
Access directory. Okay, so worries related to metadata management. Right now, there is a lot of metadata that is sitting everywhere. Whatever we touch, there is metadata sitting there, right? A label is metadata and whatnot, but we're not managing it effectively. When we bring it together and provide enough visibility to everyone, that is what metadata management is about, that I mentioned. There is so much of complexity in every organization. There's so much data sitting in various different locations, and trying to bring it together is the key. That is what metadata management is about, right? So worry about metadata as in if it is exposed. I showed that initial clipping, one code that was made about the phone records, right? Sometimes it can even kill you, as an example, right? People can get to know about it based on location, based on how long you've been, based on probably even a number that you have. So these are sensitive. Sometimes metadata can also be sensitive in nature. So it can even cause some personal harm. Having said that, if you manage it effectively, you can use it in the right sense for your own benefit. We can lead our life better if we understand the metadata about everything that we do. Okay, so think of it this way: if you have a wardrobe full of shirts and pants, I don't know how many are there. So if I have a catalog which tells me, okay, I have 5 red-colored shirts, 3 blue-colored t-shirts, and 5. This is not the actual shirt or the t-shirt or the pants that we are talking about. It's information about that. If I want to wear, I mean, I'm fancying wearing a blue t-shirt today, and if it is not washed, and if I don't have any of that in my wardrobe, then I'll get an idea what I need to do, right? Do I need to wash it? If I have to wear it 2 days later, what do I have to do? I can manage things better. Does it make sense? Hopefully I've covered your question, the first part of it. Now, in terms of directory, the catalog itself is like a directory, right? When I mentioned about the catalog, it's nothing but collecting that information, listing it out for you. You can search in a directory, just like you can search in a directory, you can search a catalog. So if you're looking for, say, for example, student information, I can look for student information. It tells me all those data sets that has student information in it. Now, within that, you might be interested in who are the students who have enrolled in a particular course. Then you might narrow down to that particular one. And then within that, you might want to know how many people have registered to a specific course at a certain time. So catalog allows you to drill down into it to get to the actual data set that you're looking. So it's just like a directory where you're looking at the old style telephone directory where you can look at the I want to look for someone who is between A and D. I can look at it, then I can narrow down on a specific person or a number. It's the same thing. Like a what do you call a dictionary, your thesaurus, whatever that might be.
Okay, thank you,
Hope
sir.
that answers. Hope that answers clarifies your question. Lakshay,
Okay.
please ask if that hasn't clarified.
Yes, sir. I have. It has been clarified. Thank you, sir.
The next question will be asked by Rajbir Kaur. Rajbir, kindly unmute yourself.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. You start your camera and you can ask your question now.
Yes, ma'am. Sir, I want to ask the question that, like we have said, metadata is data about data. So what if metadata is lost? What effect does it have on our data? And how can we retrieve metadata like in general?
So it's just like data, you maintain the metadata. So just like you retrieve data, you'll retrieve metadata, right? It's still held in a central place. It is still managed. You will have those standard techniques to keep backups if need be, so that you can retrieve as and when needed if it is lost. But again, when you're holding data, metadata goes with it. So if you take the metadata data out, you can also clear the metadata along with it, right? So it is just like you manage your data, you manage your metadata. Then it answers your question, hopefully.
Yes, sir. So one more question.
Yes.
So is there some metadata management tools, and can you name some?
There are a number of them,
Some of them.
including what we use. Informatica is a software provider in this space. We provide metadata management tools, right? And there are many. Oracle has its own, IBM has its own. There are a lot of other companies you might not have heard of, Alation, Collibra. There are a number of companies in this space.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then anybody else wish to ask the question? Sir, Sanjeev Datta sir wish to ask the question.
Yes.
Okay. Datta sir, kindly unmute yourself.
Okay. Okay, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
The introduction, the topic was very good, informative for me rather. I just want to ask one question is that is metadata more concerned with the performance tuning of the database or as a system as a whole?
So performance tuning per se, I mean, you can treat it like the log that you collect, the log that gets generated in a database could be treated as metadata. So from that sense, when you're reading that, you could potentially utilize that for performance tuning. But having said that, metadata is about providing you with visibility into what is happening, right? So in that sense, that answers your question in the sense that it can be used for performance tuning, but it contributes to it. It's not a direct outcome of that. Data needs to be managed, right, more effectively in order for you to tune the performance. But you need that metadata in order for you to understand what's happening with the data. How are people accessing it? When are they accessing it? Do I have to make some changes? I mean, I don't want to go into one-on-one of database management system, but in a nutshell, there are various things that you can understand through a log, right? Database log.
Okay.
That can drive your performance tuning. Log itself can be treated as metadata.
So you can say it is an indirect way to tune the system rather.
Yeah, it gives you information, right? So when I say it brings in efficiency to what we do, it is also saying that first of all, I'm sharing information. I understand what data is sitting where, who's using it, how they're using it. That gives me certain patterns. That helps me drive my focus to a specific area, right? And that will help me with performance tuning. That will be the outcome though. It's not a direct connection to it, but it's an outcome.
Fine, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Sir, our student Paras Sidhu want to ask the question, is that metadata can be spoofed easily? Can it be secured?
So just with metadata, you're not going to get too much of So let me answer this. I mean, there's always security that will be there in corporate world, right? I mean, there's a lot of layers of security that happens. So spoofing, I don't want to go into that detail, but at the end of the day, anyone can steal any information, right? But if they steal just the metadata, probably the impact is a lot less than the actual data itself. If someone combines the metadata with the data, that's when they get to know what the data means, what is it used for. They will have much more powerful thing in their hand to create damage.
Okay, sir, next question is, what tools are available to check the accuracy of metadata? What tools are available for check the accuracy of metadata?
So when it comes to metadata, it is about the people who are providing that input in the structure that you create. So in a database, for that matter, if you create the column width as 10, and if the data is coming to 12, the data itself is not going to fit it. So it automatically addresses it, right? So the definition that you create upfront, that is based on what you design, is what you create as metadata. So when you talk about what is a tool available to validate the metadata, that's an interesting question. Some of the things are people need to curate. So that is where the data governance side comes in, right? People are going to be looking at the definitions and seeing whether it is appropriate or not, what has been defined, and then make those corrections if need be. People and process, and then technology comes together to provide a more holistic value to any organization. So all of us form a part of that. So we design it, we provide that input, that gets captured. So if you create a database system, you define the tables, you define the column names, the length of that, that's all metadata that's being held, right? How do I validate that? It's by putting in data into it, or if the data gets rejected, you know that that metadata is wrong. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. So this is the last question. Can you please tell us about metadata management from job perspective? Like, what if someone want to get into this field, then how one can start and from where? Question by Rajbir Kaur and Navaldeep Singh.
Right. No, it's a fairly valid question. It is a hot topic. Everyone is talking about metadata management. It is more from a broader data management perspective. What I would ask each of you to focus on is have a passion for data and understand the concepts of data management. Automatically, metadata management will be something that you will be dealing with.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your for clearing the query, sir. Thank you. Over to you, Preeti
Not a
ma'am.
problem.
Thank you.
Before we end the session, I would like to remind the students that feedback form link will be shared in the chat box. Please fill the feedback form so that e-certificates can be provided to you. Thank you once again, Mr. Anand, for sparing your valuable time and interacting with our students. I'm sure everyone has thoroughly enjoyed listening to you. Thank you all the students for your participation. Good day, everyone.
Thank you all. Have a lovely afternoon.
Thank you.
You too, sir.
Madam,
Bye-bye.
please invite Datta sir for the thanks.
Yeah.
I would like
Because
to
it's
invite,
already on mute.
I would like to invite Professor Datta sir to please.
Okay, I'm here. So very good afternoon to all of you. It's a great honor for me to move a vote of thanks. Indeed, it was a wonderful session and hope everybody must have enjoyed it. Yes, in today's environment, data has great influence and any mismanagement of data will lead to misinformation. Mr. Anand has very beautifully explained the importance of metadata management through examples of video tracks, Netflix, etc. This technique of metadata management is used by organizations to mine relevant knowledge from huge pool of data to provide better services to their customers. Any change in data is very critical for the organization. Sir has also discussed how metadata ensures the availability of relevant data, preservation and reuse of data in future, and why metadata has important role in digital resource management. I hope this webinar will push the students to learn more about the intricacies involved in metadata management and the opportunities it provides. So on behalf of the Computer Science Department, DAV College, I thank Mr. Anand Ramamurthy for sparing his precious time and sharing his knowledge. Thank you very much, sir. I'm also very thankful to our principal, sir, Dr. Rajesh Kumarji, for always motivating us to have these kind of interactions. And we believe in his words that knowledge multiplies only by sharing. Thank you very much, sir, for always inspiring us. I'm very thankful to my worthy colleagues from different departments who took their precious time to attend the webinar and made the session more vibrant. Last but not the least, I thank all the students who are a part of this webinar and hope that this interaction will further motivate them to explore the unexplored vistas of technology. Thank you very much all, and please stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Stay safe. Take care. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Sir, meeting end करो.
Anna ma'am, please end the